Hello everybody, what day am I filming this on? Sunday, and I'm hoping to try and get it uploaded today as well. So happy Sunday and welcome to A Tea Time with Chloe. We have not done this in a little while, but I am now in my third trimester of pregnancy. Currently I am 29 weeks and 4 days today, so I thought it was high time I film my second trimester Q&A video. Archie's coming to join us because he's heard me talking. Hello Pelly, you come to say hello. So yeah, I thought it was about time I film my second trimester Q&A because I'm nearly 2 weeks into my third trimester now. And yeah, I just haven't done a tea time with Chloe in ages, so I thought it was about time I did one. I asked her questions on Instagram the other day and I got a bunch of questions and I've written them down in my bullet journal, so let's get into it. So, oops, I'm dropping all of my hospital letters everywhere. First one, how has the second trimester been different from the first trimester and which have you preferred? So the second trimester was very different to the first trimester, really. And it's so weird because it feels like the pregnancy is going by so quick, but I'm like struggling to remember the first trimester and like the beginning of the second, so I have to rack my brains. In the first trimester I had a lot of food aversions and nausea, and I was very tired, and my skin was really playing up, and I just like generally felt unwell all the time. And I also had a lot of sickness and like tummy trouble and everything, which in hindsight I think was to do with my prenatal vitamins, because I've just been put on some different supplements for anemia and I'm getting similar symptoms again. So I actually think my body just doesn't tolerate like vitamin supplements and mineral supplements in pregnancy. But yeah, I felt very unwell in the first trimester. And whilst, I mean, it wasn't nowhere near as bad as some people have it, like I didn't have hyperemesis or anything like that. I actually think if I hadn't reacted badly to the prenatals, I probably wouldn't have had any sickness at all. It would have just been really bad nausea and like food aversions. Yeah, so I just generally felt quite unwell in the first trimester. The second trimester, I never got that like energy boost that people talk about. I never felt like amazing in my second trimester or felt like I was getting a glow or anything like that. But I definitely had a little bit more energy than the first trimester. When I was nearly 14 weeks, we were able to go camping, and when I was 21 or 22 weeks, we went to the caravan for 4 or 5 days. So, and I was able to do some walking, so I definitely had a little bit more energy. My skin really cleared up and I was able to eat normally again. So on the whole, I've definitely preferred the second trimester to the first. The first trimester I was just consumed with anxiety and worry all the time as well, whereas the second trimester, especially once I started feeling baby's movements, it eased off a little bit. I'm still anxious and worried all the time. I was actually saying that to my mum yesterday, but yeah, like feeling her movements definitely made me feel more reassured, and I did feel a little bit more alive in the second trimester, so I would have to say the second trimester was my favourite out of the two. Next, how do you manage your fatigue generally being pregnant? So I think this came from a girl I went to school with actually, and I think she might have a chronic illness as well. So I think she means like in relation to that, like when you already feel so tired and sort of generally a bit unwell all the time, how do you manage that while being pregnant on top of that? And honestly, all I can say is listen to your body as much as possible. I've had so many days where I've like not left the couch, and I've had to become at peace with that and with the fact that sometimes things are just not going to get done and that I'm not going to be productive all the time. And I've like tried to celebrate the small wins that I've had. So like even if I've done a load of washing or two, I will make a point of saying to Wills like, go me for getting the washing done today, even if I did nothing else. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to celebrate those small victories because I have had to listen to my body a lot and just rest a lot. But yeah, on the whole, I would just say you've just got to listen to your body, because growing a human is hard. Even though consciously you're not doing anything, subconsciously and like physically your body is doing so much every day, every second. and you've just got to rest, like you've just got to let yourself chill. Question number 3, any food cravings? All I want to eat is chocolate, which is so annoying because obviously it's not good for you. But yeah, chocolate has been like the biggest thing that I have wanted in the second trimester, and like fizzy sweets as well, which again is not good for you. And I already have issues with my teeth, and I've had more issues with my teeth in pregnancy, which again is really common. So the last thing I need to be doing is eating chocolate and sweets. And also I lost loads of weight in the first trimester because of being so ill and having so many food aversions, and I gained that all back real quick when I hit like mid second trimester and started craving all of this chocolate. So I would say that's my main craving, but it's not like I don't wake up at 3 a.m. and think if I don't have chocolate right now I'm going to kill someone. You know, like some women, they'll make their husbands go and get them a McDonald's at like 2 a.m. in the morning because they're craving one so bad. It's not been like that for me, but I always fancy chocolate or sweets. Next question, things that you're most excited for aside from the obvious. So I guess that's not really like specific to second trimester, but maybe I'll share some of the things I was super excited about in the second trimester, and then I'll share what I'm excited for like going ahead. So in the second trimester, the most exciting thing for me was feeling the baby's movements and finding out whether we were having a boy or a girl. And I want to preface this by saying that it goes without saying, or it should go without saying, that we will accept our child for whoever they are, whoever they decide that they are. We will cross that bridge when we come to it, but for right now, we wanted to know whether the baby in my stomach right now is a boy or a girl, and we will raise them as a girl. We found out we were having a girl, and we will raise her as a girl until such a time when she tells us that that's not what she wants. I know a lot of people disagree with gender reveals, or because it's not gender, it is the sex of the baby. I know that a lot of people disagree with that, or find it weird, they just don't like it. That's absolutely fine, but I was over the moon to find out what we were having. I was over the moon to find out we were having a girl. I would have been equally as happy to have a boy, and like I said, whatever she decides she is later on, we will cross that bridge when we come to it, and we are 100% accepting. We're a very liberal family. End of story. So yeah, finding out what we were having and feeling the baby's movements were like the two most exciting things for me in the second trimester. And like feeling her move has just got gradually like more and more intense as the weeks have gone on, obviously as she got bigger, and like feeling those different movements and wondering what she's doing and all that sort of thing has just been like one of the most amazing parts of pregnancy for me. Now at nearly 30 weeks, some of her movements are getting a little bit uncomfortable now, but I still love it, and I don't get up in the morning until I've felt her move for the first time that day. I just look forward to it every single day. Also, the 20-week scan was a big one. I was absolutely terrified before going in because obviously it's a diagnostic scan, so they are looking for abnormalities, but after it was done, then I was so excited. It felt like we'd hit a huge milestone, and we started doing her nursery. So again, decorating her bedroom and like buying things for that, putting it all together, sorting out her little clothes and everything. That is something that I've absolutely loved doing and dreamt of doing my whole life. Like putting together a bedroom for your first baby, like it's just the most magical thing, even though she won't be in that bedroom for like months. We'll probably keep her with us for at least 6 months, but it meant that all of her little things had somewhere to go, and that was amazing. So I think those are the three things I've been the most excited about in the second trimester. In terms of what I'm most excited about looking forward, right now I'm really looking forward to getting to 30 weeks because that feels like the next big milestone. I feel like if somebody's pregnant and you say like, how far along are you? If they say anything 30 weeks and above, you're sort of like, oh, you're in the final stretch, you're in the final countdown. And because I'm having a slightly earlier C-section as well, we know when she's coming, and it is getting really close now. So I'm really looking forward to getting to 30 weeks. But in terms of her actually being born, I'm just so looking forward to just holding her for the first time and having it suddenly feel real, because even though I love her so much and I think about her and worry about her every second of every day, and again, I was talking to my mum about this yesterday, I do feel like there's an element of detachment there, because it just doesn't feel like we'll possibly get to bring her home. And so I'm waiting for the moment when we leave the hospital, basically, and we get to take her home. And I just think that's going to be an incredible moment. If you suffered from nausea and sickness, when did it stop? Please tell me it stops. I assume that's from somebody who is in early pregnancy. I'm sorry you're feeling rubbish. I felt pretty horrible up until about 15 weeks. Mine went away around 15 weeks. But like I said before, I think a lot of the sickness I had was actually to do with my prenatal vitamins. So when I went for my 16-week appointment, I said to my midwife, you know, that I was still feeling awful, and she suggested stopping the prenatal vitamins and just taking vitamin D and folic acid, I think it was, separately on their own. So I started doing that and I immediately felt better. So for me personally, I think a lot of it was to do with my prenatals. So if you are really struggling with nausea and sickness, maybe try taking some vitamins separately instead of like the prenatals, because apparently it's really common that they can make you feel worse. I did have a lot of nausea and I did have a lot of food aversions though, so I really do sympathise. I feel like that side of it did start to ease off as I approached 12 weeks. But I was still being physically sick and having a lot of tummy trouble for a few weeks after that. But like I said, I think that was to do with the prenatals. Did you have any new symptoms in the second trimester? So going into the second trimester, I felt like symptoms really did change for a little while, apart from being absolutely shattered, and starting to feel movements and stuff. I felt like I didn't have that many symptoms, but one thing I've had the whole time is congestion. So it's called pregnancy rhinitis, and it basically feels like you have a blocked nose all the time, but you don't have any like mucus or anything. It's just because there's so much extra blood in your body when you're pregnant that your blood vessels swell, and it can happen in your nasal passages, and it feels like you're congested all the time. So every morning I wake up just feeling like I can't breathe, and it takes hours of being up and moving around to start feeling a little bit better. And then every time I like sit and do nothing, which as I said in the beginning happens quite a lot because I'm exhausted, I just feel like I can't breathe through my nose at all. So that was something that definitely started in the first trimester, but I think progressively got worse through the second, and it's still there now. It's gone past midday as I'm filming this, so it's not too bad at the moment. But yeah, in the mornings I wake up and I just can't breathe, and it's not fun. And then it tends to get worse as we head into the evening again. Also, round ligament pain started like properly in the second trimester, and it is so painful. So for a lot of women, they say they get sort of sharp pains around like the bottom of their bump when they like roll over in bed, or if they get up too quickly and stuff like that. For me, I started noticing it if I was walking too much. So when we were at the caravan, I think I was 21, 22 weeks pregnant. We went on a couple of long walks, and by the time we got back, I was just in agony. It's basically like a really awful stitch, and for me it was all around the bottom of my bump and all down the front of my bump, like behind my belly button, and it is just a horrible pain. Thankfully, touch wood, at the moment I don't have it all the time, but it does start happening if I walk around too much. So I went shopping with my mum on Monday. By the time we were walking back to the car, I was having to take paracetamol because it had started really hurting. And a couple of times it's hurt for hours afterwards, like if I've really overdone it. So I am having to be quite careful because I'm desperate to not set that off, but it's completely harmless. It's literally your ligaments like stretching and pulling to accommodate the baby, and it hurts. Heartburn's another symptom that started up, you know, it started popping up in the second trimester, but I haven't had it too badly at all. I actually had it really badly last night, but obviously now I'm in my third trimester, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, that definitely started appearing in the second trimester after I ate certain foods. It hasn't been bad enough that I would go out and buy like Gaviscon or any sort of over-the-counter remedies for it though, so I've been quite lucky in that respect. But I do think as I get towards the end now, it is going to be more prominent, because as I said, she's head down with her feet up in my ribs, so my stomach and my lungs are being quite compressed now. And obviously heartburn is where your stomach acid like works its way up into your throat because it's being like pushed out of your stomach. So I do think it's going to be more common. Like I say, I had it really bad last night, but yeah, that was new in the second trimester. The only other thing that I've noticed is that towards the end of the second trimester, my skin has been playing up again a little bit, but that could be to do with not having a great diet at the moment. And I've also felt a little bit more hormonal, so I've been a bit more teary, a little bit more overwhelmed at times. So I feel like that maybe is to do with sort of like a rush of hormones towards the end of the second trimester, I'm not sure. But other than that, I can't really think of new symptoms. More aches and pains for sure, like everything hurts and aches all the time, but I am sort of able to just get on with it because my body hurts all the time anyway. So yeah, I just have sort of got on with it and maybe not noticed that so much as a pregnancy symptom. But yeah, other than that, I can't think of many things. I've been really lucky actually in the grand scheme of things. Touch wood. When did you first feel movements? Baby movements, I'm assuming that is. So I first felt kicks, definite like poke kicks, at 16 weeks and 3 days, and it was the night after we had had our early scan to find out whether we were having a girl or a boy. So that was like a completely wonderful day. Like, we found out that we were having a girl, we told some of our closest friends and family, we decided on her name that day, which was a complete shocker. We just basically came out with this name and was like, yeah, that's it, that's what she's going to be called. And then we were laying in bed that night talking about it, and I felt 3 little pokes really low down on my left side, and I'd never felt anything like it before, so I knew it was her. So yeah, I was 16.5 weeks when I first felt movement, and it was the most incredible thing. I will say though that I do have a posterior high placenta, which means my placenta is at the back of my uterus. Oh, she's doing a really big roll right now. Yeah, my placenta is at the back of my uterus and it's high up, which means I can basically feel all of her movements because the placenta isn't in the way. Sometimes if she completely turns to face my back, then obviously the movements will be less and you feel them a lot more internally. But I do think I felt clear like pokes from quite early on because of where my placenta is. I have friends who have anterior placentas, which means it's at the front, and they didn't feel movements at all until sort of like 24, 25 weeks. So if that's you, like, don't panic if you've been told you've got an anterior placenta. Does baby have a name, and if so, when will you share it? Will you share it before she's born? So as I said, yes, baby does have a name, and if you watch my weekly vlogs, you will have probably heard me talk about stuff in the nursery that's got her name on. But yeah, we decided on her name the day that we found out she was a girl, and it's so funny because we completely had no idea on names before we went into the scan. We had names that we liked, but there weren't any that we were like, yes, that will be her name if she's a girl. We had 1 or 2 that we were pretty set on if baby was a boy, but we just completely like couldn't agree on girl names at all. And there was one name that Will liked. I'd suggested it to him before, a couple of years ago, before we'd even like decided to have kids, and he'd said he didn't like it. And I'd also mentioned it to my mum years and years ago, and she said she wasn't that keen on it either. So it had sort of like worked its way to the bottom of my list, but I had always liked it. And one of my friends actually guessed the baby's name because she remembered me saying that I liked this name in college. So it is one that I have always liked, but I felt like Will didn't like it, or like my mum didn't really like it. But Will suddenly suggested it as her name, and it just felt really right. It's not necessarily like what I would have chosen if I was just naming her myself, but it felt like her name as soon as he said it. And then when I told my mum, because my mum was desperate to know what we were calling the baby, we haven't told everyone, there's only a very small selection of people who know. When we told my mum, she said she loved it, thought it was wonderful, and the middle name is after a member of Will's family. So I'm really happy with her name. My family seem to really like her name, the ones that know anyway. So yeah, we just decided then and there as soon as we found out that she was a girl. So for the past 13 weeks she's had a name, and I've bought personalized stuff and things like that, and we've seen her little face now because we had a 4D scan yesterday, and I feel like she's going to suit her name, so I'm happy with it. But we won't be sharing her name until she's born. So when we announce that she's here, then we'll share her name. Why are you having a C-section? Okay, so again, like some of these aren't really specific to second trimester, but I'll answer them because they came up. So I'm having a C-section because of my Crohn's disease. And when I've mentioned that briefly, I've had women with Crohn's message me panicking, saying that they've never been told they'll have to have a C-section if they get pregnant. And that's because it's not the case for everyone. So it depends on your specific symptoms, your specific experience with Crohn's. For me personally, the last time that I was really poorly, last year and in 2019, my inflammation, so the ulcers and everything that Crohn's disease causes, were focused a lot in my like lower digestive system. Basically, a lot of pressure would be put on these areas when giving birth vaginally. And so it was sort of decided between my gastro consultant and the obstetrician that I'm seeing that a C-section delivery would be better for me. They did say that if I wanted to go for a vaginal delivery, they would absolutely support me in that, but I would have to be aware of the risks. And basically for me, the risks are if I had a tear, which happens to a lot of women in labour, that it might not heal particularly effectively because of where it would be, and that could cause issues with incontinence. You know, I've had Crohn's since I was 8 years old and I'm now 27, and I've managed to avoid having surgery in all that time. I've managed to avoid having a stoma bag and all that sort of thing, and I would hate to end up having to go through that because I had pushed for a vaginal delivery when I had been advised that a C-section would be safer for me. I know that the recovery from a C-section is no joke. I've been doing lots of research and trying to prepare myself as best as I possibly can. But I think that the recovery from a C-section, touch wood, would still be better for me than the recovery from a natural delivery if there were complications with the natural delivery. The next one's kind of related. It says, will you vlog the birth? Are you nervous to have a C-section? I'm terrified to have a C-section. Absolutely terrified. It's kept me up at night a couple of times. Like I said, I've been trying to research as much as possible. I've been joining planned C-section Facebook groups to try and be as informed as possible and to read people's stories. One thing that does comfort me is that scheduled C-sections are so much better than emergency C-sections. The recovery seems to be a million times better if you have a scheduled C-section. And I'm trying to remind myself of the positives. So, you know, for me, the positive would be knowing the date. With a vaginal delivery, even though that is what I would have preferred, I would be terrified the whole time that something was going to go wrong and I would end up with a stoma bag, with incontinence, that sort of thing, because of my Crohn's. And hopefully with a C-section, touch wood again, that won't be an issue. I'm just trying to remind myself of the positives as much as possible. And will you vlog the birth? We won't be able to film in the theatre when she's actually being born, I don't think. From what I've been told, they don't allow you to film. We will try and get pictures so that I can sort of share bits and bobs of it with you if I feel comfortable, but I will try my best to vlog like in the lead up to and after the C-section, so that I can share a bit of our experience and like help people understand what to expect, and also so that we can look back on it as well. I think the birth of your first child is a pretty huge thing, so it would be nice to have a video to look back on. But yeah, the actual birth itself, I'm pretty sure we won't be able to film. You seem to have had a lot of scans. What extra scans are you having? Yes, I have had a lot of scans. I had a bunch of scans in the first trimester. I think I had like 5 scans in the first trimester due to the previous miscarriage, and I had some spotting here and there, and I had, as I said previously, I had a lot of tummy trouble in the first trimester, which was causing issues, so I had a couple of scans then as well. And then obviously like the standard 12-week scan that they do, like the dating scan. So yeah, that was the first trimester, but actually in the second trimester I didn't have that many at all. We had 2 private scans at 14 weeks and 16 weeks. And then just your general 20-week scan that everyone has. The extra scans that I feel like this person is maybe asking about are the ones that I'm having from 28 weeks. So again, that's actually 3rd trimester, not the 2nd trimester. But I am having extra growth scans because I have Crohn's disease and I've been on medication for my Crohn's disease throughout the pregnancy. So even though, touch wood, my Crohn's has been in remission during pregnancy, which is quite common, a lot of people with autoimmune conditions find that they go into remission throughout pregnancy, which is nice. It can still affect the growth of the baby. The medication that I'm taking isn't one that they would normally recommend you being on while pregnant, purely because it's so new, so they haven't had a chance to do a bunch of studies yet, because they don't use pregnant women as guinea pigs in studies. I am actually part of a clinical trial for this medication, so hopefully that will help people going forward. But yeah, that's why I'm having the extra growth scans, so they can check the growth of the baby and the function of the placenta and the umbilical cord once a month. So I had one at 28 weeks, I'll have one at 32, 36, and then I would be having one at 40 weeks, but baby will already be here by then. Next question, are you pleased that you had an early gender scan, or do you wish that you had waited? For me personally, with this being our rainbow baby and having so much anxiety after a previous loss, I am really glad that we had the early scan to find out what we were having. It made it feel a bit more real. I felt like it was just nice to find out more information about this little person that you're carrying. However, having said that, I kind of wish that we hadn't announced it publicly, because it would have been nice, like I said, to have that extra element of surprise when she's born. But that's fine. Maybe I will, if we have another baby and we find out, maybe I'll keep that information just to family next time. I don't know. But what I do know is that if I can find the willpower, at some point I would love to have a baby and not find out until birth, because I just think that must be the most amazing experience, but I just didn't have the willpower to do it this time. What are your plans for your 3rd trimester now that you've made it through the first 2? I can't believe I'm even in the 3rd trimester, to be honest. It feels like it's gone so fast. Like, when you think of pregnancy as being nearly 10 months long, it seems so long, but when you're actually just living your life and like stuff's happening, and I mean, we haven't even been like massively busy because of COVID. Obviously no one's really able to do anything. We haven't had like a holiday or anything like that, so I don't know why time has felt like it's gone so fast, but it does. There was a little bit in the middle where it felt like it was really slowing down from like 20 to 24 weeks. That felt like forever. And then once I hit 24 weeks, which is an amazing milestone to get to because it's that viability mark, so the baby would be viable if it were born, I felt like it just massively sped up again, and now I have appointments literally coming out of my ears for the next couple of weeks. So I feel like it's going to go pretty quick. But my plans are basically just to get as much rest as possible, whilst also trying not to go insane. Because if you follow my vlogs, you'll know that I'm not working now. So my workplace have followed the current government guidance, which is that women over 28 weeks of pregnancy, but specifically like women with underlying health conditions, who are at higher risk from COVID, should either be working from home or put on medical suspension on full pay until their maternity leave kicks in. So my maternity leave doesn't officially start until November, and baby will be here towards the end of November. But from the 1st of September, I was put on medical suspension because my job role at work changed. I had worked with the same child for 4 years, providing one-to-one support, and I was able to work from home when I was working with that child because we had a really good relationship. I could video call and teach over video call, whereas now that year group has moved on to their new pastures of secondary school, and so my job role had slightly changed, and there was just no way I was going to be able to work from home anymore, and my bosses agreed with that, and they also agreed that I couldn't really be kept safe at work because there aren't any legal restrictions in schools anymore. So people could actually come in to school even if somebody in their household had COVID, as long as they were testing negative. So they could be coming in and spreading all the germs, as long as they were testing negative. And they also weren't legally obligated to tell anyone if somebody in their household had COVID. So they agreed that I couldn't be kept safe, basically, and it would be better for me to be on medical suspension. So I'm trying not to go mad. I've left myself jobs to do. Like, I haven't washed any of the baby clothes yet. I've left myself that job. I haven't packed hospital bags yet. I'm going to do that at the end of the month. I've been doing some craft projects. I've finished 2 more scrapbook albums. What else? That's pretty much it, really. Just like trying to chill and relax as much as possible, and enjoy the peace and being able to get some sort of sleep before I'm too big and uncomfortable to sleep and then have a newborn. But also trying not to be bored out of my mind because I can't do a lot of physical activity anymore. And sitting at home all day is not good for anyone's mental health. So yeah. But yeah, that is it. That was a long video. I hope you had a cup of tea and some biscuits to get through that. If you have any more questions, as always, let me know in the comments and I will reply to you. Yeah, we're in the 3rd trimester. We are in the final stretch, guys. It is getting so close. She will be here the month after next, and that is a lot to take in. I hope you're all well and I hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Bye, guys.